I was 16 when my brother Daniel became the golden child. Not that he wasn't always favored, he was. But that was the year it became official family doctrine. Daniel got into Yale. Full academic scholarship. My parents threw a party with 100 guests, a catered dinner, and a banner that read, "Congratulations Daniel, Yale Class of 2014. They were so proud they could barely function. I was sitting at that party eating overpriced canapés when my aunt pulled me aside. "Your turn next, right? Following Daniel to an Ivy League." "I'm thinking environmental science," I said. "Maybe University of Washington. They have an amazing sustainability program." Her face did that thing. The polite collapse into disappointment. "Oh, that's nice." My mother overheard. She smiled tightly. "Sarah's still figuring things out. Not everyone can be Daniel." That sentence became the family motto. Not everyone can be Daniel. It was said with sympathy, with understanding, with the gentle condescension of people who'd already decided who you'd become. Daniel went to Yale. Got his economics degree. Landed a job at a prestigious consulting firm in Manhattan. Made 6 figures by 24. My parents updated their holiday cards every year with his achievements. Daniel promoted to senior consultant. Daniel featured in Business Insider's 30 Under 30. Daniel engaged to Amanda, Harvard MBA. I went to University of Washington. Studied environmental science and data analytics. Graduated with honors that nobody particularly celebrated. Started working for a small environmental nonprofit in Seattle making $42,000 a year. My parents mentioned my job exactly once in their holiday cards. "Sarah works in environmental education." The comparison was constant. The dismissal was subtle but relentless. What they didn't know, what I carefully hid for 8 years, was that I'd started building something else entirely. During my junior year of college, I'd gotten interested in carbon credit markets. Not the ethics of them, though I had opinions, but the trading mechanisms, the inefficiencies, the patterns. I started developing models to predict price movements based on policy changes, weather patterns, and corporate sustainability announcements. By graduation, my models were returning 34% annually on a $12,000 initial investment. By 25, I was managing $800,000 in assets. Mine and a few quiet investors who'd found me through environmental tech circles. By 28, I'd broken $8 million. By 30, I was worth $23 million. I built a company called Ecometrics Analytics. We provided data analysis for sustainable investment funds, carbon credit traders, and environmental tech startups. My clients included 3 Fortune 500 companies, 2 major hedge funds, and the largest green energy investor in North America. I lived in a modest apartment in Seattle. Drove a 12-year-old Subaru. Wore clothes from REI and Patagonia outlets. Kept working part-time at the nonprofit because I actually believed in the mission. Every choice was deliberate. Every decision was strategic. Because I'd learned that in my family, success wasn't celebrated unless it looked like Daniel's success. Unless it came with an Ivy League degree and a Manhattan address and a job that sounded impressive at cocktail parties. So I stayed invisible. Built my empire in the spaces between their attention. And watched. Every family gathering had the same rhythm. Daniel would arrive with Amanda. Beautiful, accomplished, perfect Amanda with her Harvard MBA and her venture capital job and her ability to make everything sound important and impressive. Amanda just closed a $50 million Series B funding round. My mother would announce like Amanda had personally invented entrepreneurship. Daniel's being considered for VP, my father would add. Youngest candidate they've ever had. Then they'd turn to me. The afterthought. The comparison point. "And Sarah, you're still at the nonprofit?" "Yes." "Still in that little apartment in Fremont?" "Yes." "Still driving that old Subaru?" "It's reliable." My father would nod with the particular sadness of a man whose daughter had failed to achieve escape velocity. "Well, not everyone can work in high finance. Someone has to care about the trees." Daniel would laugh. Not meanly, he wasn't deliberately cruel. But he'd laugh, and Amanda would smile, and my parents would join in, and I'd sit there feeling like a punchline to a joke I hadn't agreed to be part of. What made it bearable was knowing the truth. While they were praising Daniel's $180,000 salary, I was managing portfolios worth millions. While they were celebrating Amanda's $50 million funding round, I was consulting on deals worth 10 times that. While they were mocking my Subaru, I could have bought their house with cash and barely noticed the expense. But something else was happening too. Something I didn't notice until I started paying closer attention. My parents' lifestyle was expanding beyond what Dad's insurance executive salary should have supported. They bought a vacation home in the Hamptons, remodeled their primary residence twice in 3 years, joined 2 exclusive country clubs, took elaborate trips to Southeast Asia, South America, and Europe. Good investments, Dad would say vaguely when I asked. Your father's been very strategic, Mom would add with pride. Daniel would nod knowingly, like he was in on some sophisticated financial planning that I couldn't possibly understand. I didn't push. I was busy building ecometrics, busy consulting, busy making the kind of money that would have shocked them if they'd bothered to ask. Then came the invitation to their 40th anniversary gala. Actually, it wasn't an invitation. It was a card that arrived 3 weeks before the event. Heavy cardstock, embossed lettering, the kind of thing you'd send for a wedding. Robert and Catherine Morrison cordially invite you to celebrate 40 years of marriage. Saturday, June 15th. The Plaza Hotel, Manhattan. Black tie. Regrettably, space is limited to immediate family and closest friends. I stared at it for a long time. Space is limited. To immediate family. I was immediate family. I was their daughter. I called my mother. Oh, Sarah, yes, she said. We were going to call you. The thing is, Daniel and Amanda are hosting and they've put together this incredible guest list. His colleagues from the firm, Amanda's venture capital partners, some of Dad's biggest clients. It's going to be very professional, sophisticated. And I wouldn't fit? It's not that you wouldn't fit, sweetheart. It's just, well, you know how these things are. Daniel has worked so hard on this. It's really his night to shine, showing what he can do for us. We just thought it might be easier if I didn't come. Silence. Then, your brother deserves this night. You understand. I understood perfectly. I hung up and sat in my apartment, looking at the invitation that wasn't an invitation. The card that said, immediate family, while making it clear I wasn't immediate enough. Then I made a decision. Not out of anger, I was past anger. Out of clarity. The kind of clarity that comes from finally seeing a pattern you'd been pretending wasn't there. I called Dr. Patricia Chin. Dr. Patricia Chin was the best forensic accountant on the West Coast. I'd worked with her twice before on client projects, following money through complex corporate structures, identifying inconsistencies in sustainability claims, tracking greenwashing schemes. She was brilliant, thorough, and expensive. Her rate was $850 an hour. I didn't care. I need you to investigate my family's finances, I told her. Specifically, I need to know how they're funding their lifestyle. That's an unusual request. I have unusual reasons. I told her about the anniversary party, the uninvitation, the years of dismissal, the expanding lifestyle that didn't match Dad's salary. I gave her permission to access my own financial records. Every account, every investment, every wire transfer. I think I've been funding them without knowing it, I said. I need to know for certain. She was quiet for a moment. If you're right, what do you want to do with the information? I want documentation. I want clarity. And I want it ready by June 15th. The anniversary party. Yes. You're planning something. I'm planning truth, I corrected. Whether that's something depends on what you find. He found everything. It took her 12 days. When she called me back, her voice had the careful neutrality of someone delivering news that would detonate a life. You need to come to my office, she said. This isn't a phone conversation. I drove to her downtown Seattle office. She had a conference room set up with 2 laptops, a projector, and a folder that looked like it could stop a bullet. Sit down, she said. I sat. She opened the folder. Over the past 8 years, your parents have received $623,000 in anonymous wire transfers. The money came through a complex network of LLCs and investment accounts, but I traced it back to its source. Me. Specifically, from Ecometrics Analytics and 3 of your investment vehicles. The transfers were structured to look like investment returns from a fund your father supposedly invested in 8 years ago. But that fund? It's managed by a firm called Sterling Wealth Partners. I don't know that firm. You do. You're their largest client. You have $47 million invested with them. They manage carbon credit portfolios and sustainable investment funds. Your brother Daniel works there. The room tilted. What? Daniel joined Sterling Wealth Partners 3 years ago. He's not a VP at his consulting firm anymore, he left that job. He's a senior portfolio manager at Sterling. And he's been the one structuring these transfers to your parents. She pulled up a spreadsheet. Your returns from Sterling have been excellent, averaging 28% annually. But Daniel's been taking portions of those returns, repackaging them as investment income from a fictional fund, and funneling them to your parents. They think they invested $50,000 8 years ago and have been receiving returns ever since. They have no idea the money is actually coming from you. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. It gets worse, Dr. Chin said quietly. I found credit card accounts opened in your name. 4 cards, totaling $284,000 in debt. The applications have forged signatures, but they used your social security number, your birth date, and personal information that would have required family access to obtain. She showed me the applications. My signature, but not my signature. Close enough to pass casual inspection. Not close enough to fool forensics. Daniel had access to all of this information, she continued. Through family records, through your parents' files. The cards were used to fund your parents' remodeling projects, their vacation home down payment, and various luxury purchases. They've been paying the minimum monthly payments from the investment returns, which means they've been using your money to pay interest on debt created in your name. I stared at the evidence. My family. My brother. The golden child who could do no wrong. There's one more thing, Dr. Chin said. The 40th anniversary party. The one at the plaza. Daniel paid for it. A $150,000 event. The deposit came from a Sterling Wealth Partners corporate account. But the funds in that account, they're from a bonus Daniel received last quarter. A performance bonus based on managing your portfolio. My brother was throwing my parents an anniversary party with my money while uninviting me because I didn't fit the sophisticated image he was trying to project. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't destroying me from the inside. What do you want to do? Dr. Chin asked. I looked at her. At the evidence. At 8 years of documentation showing exactly how I'd been used, dismissed, and defrauded. I want you to present this, I said. Publicly. At the anniversary party. That's nuclear. I know. It will destroy relationships. Family relationships. Those relationships are already destroyed, I said. They're just built on lies instead of honesty. I'm ready for honesty. She studied me for a long moment. Hey, I'll do it. But you need to be sure. Once this happens, there's no going back. I'm sure. The next 2 weeks were surgical. Dr. Chin prepared a presentation. Clean, professional, devastating. We had wire transfer records. Credit card applications with forged signatures. Corporate documents showing Daniel's position at Sterling. Performance bonus records. A complete financial timeline showing exactly how my success had been repackaged as their investment genius. I contacted my attorney. We filed a police report for identity theft. We prepared civil fraud documentation. We froze the credit cards in my name. We sent formal notifications to Sterling Wealth Partners that I was reviewing all account relationships and considering withdrawal of all assets. That last one got a response within 4 hours. Daniel called me. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. Sarah, hey, he said. His voice had the careful cheerfulness of someone trying to sound casual. I got a weird notification from our compliance department. Something about you reviewing your accounts. That's correct. Is everything okay? Are you unhappy with our performance? Because I can walk you through the quarterly returns if... I know about the transfers, Daniel. Silence. Long, devastating silence. I don't know what you're talking about, he said finally. $623,000 in wire transfers to mom and dad over 8 years. Structured to look like investment returns from a fund that doesn't exist. Money that actually came from my portfolio. Sarah. I also know about the credit cards. 4 accounts opened in my name. $284,000 in debt. Identity theft is a federal crime, Daniel. His breathing had changed. Shorter. Faster. I can explain. I don't want explanations. I want you to know that I know. And I want you to know that I'm coming to the anniversary party. You're not invited. I'm immediate family, I said calmly. Space is limited to immediate family. I'll be there. I hung up before he could respond. For the party, I bought a dress that cost more than my monthly rent. Black, elegant, sophisticated. I bought shoes that could have paid for a year of my Subaru's insurance. I bought jewelry, real jewelry, the kind that came with certificates of authenticity and insurance riders. When I looked in the mirror, I saw someone who belonged at the plaza. Someone who commanded attention. Someone who had power. That's you, my roommate said, watching me get ready. That's who you actually are. It's one version, I said. The version they never bothered to see. I flew to New York the day before the party. Stayed at a modest hotel in Brooklyn. Even with millions in the bank, I couldn't bring myself to spend $800 a night on Manhattan luxury. Some habits were too ingrained. Dr. Chin arrived that evening. We met in my hotel room and reviewed the presentation one final time. You're absolutely certain? She asked. Yes. Your brother will likely face criminal charges. Your parents will be financially devastated. Your family will never be the same. My family is built on fraud and dismissal, I said quietly. If the truth destroys that, maybe it needed to be destroyed. She nodded. Then let's give them truth. The Plaza Hotel glittered like a promise. I'd never been there before. It was the kind of place my family went without me, the kind of luxury they enjoyed while telling me I didn't understand sophistication. The ballroom was spectacular. Crystal chandeliers. White linens. Centerpieces that probably cost more than my monthly nonprofit salary. 300 guests in black tie, holding champagne glasses, celebrating 40 years of Robert and Catherine Morrison's marriage. I walked in alone. My dress caught the light. My jewelry sparkled. I saw heads turn, saw people trying to place me, saw the exact moment my mother spotted me across the room. Her face went through shock, confusion, and anger in rapid succession. She started toward me with the purposeful stride of someone about to cause a scene. Daniel intercepted her. He grabbed her arm, whispered something urgent. They both looked at me. Daniel's face was pale. Good, I thought. He should be scared. My father approached more slowly. He looked distinguished in his tuxedo, the successful executive celebrating 4 decades of marriage. Sarah. We didn't expect you. I'm immediate family, I said pleasantly. The invitation said immediate family. It also said space was limited. There seems to be plenty of space. He glanced around nervously. Daniel worked very hard on this event. Tonight is important for him professionally. Many of his colleagues are here. Please don't make a scene. I'm not making a scene, Dad. I'm attending my parents' anniversary party. Amanda appeared at his shoulder. Perfect Amanda in a designer gown, looking like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Sarah. How unexpected. We thought you were busy with your nonprofit work. I made time, I said. 40 years is significant. The opening remarks began at 7. Daniel took the microphone looking confident, polished, successful. Everything my parents had always wanted. Thank you all for being here to celebrate Robert and Catherine's incredible 40-year journey, he began. As many of you know, my parents have been an inspiration to me throughout my career. Their wisdom about building wealth, making smart investments, and creating a legacy has shaped everything I've become. The crowd applauded. Mom was crying happy tears. Dad was beaming. Tonight we're celebrating not just their marriage but their success, Daniel continued. Their strategic thinking. Their financial acumen. The way they've built a life that reflects both love and prosperity. He talked about their vacation home. Their investments. Their ability to enjoy retirement in comfort and luxury. He made it sound like they'd achieved everything through their own brilliance. I stood at the back of the ballroom watching. Waiting. And I'm honored to have been able to contribute to tonight's celebration, Daniel said. To give them this gift of an incredible evening surrounded by people who appreciate everything they've built. More applause. More tears. More celebration of a narrative built on fraud. Then Daniel said the thing I'd been waiting for. So please join me in toasting Robert and Catherine, 2 people who understand that success is about smart choices and strategic planning. The room raised their glasses. That's when Dr. Patricia Chin walked to the front of the ballroom. She was in a professional suit, dark, authoritative, commanding. She carried a leather briefcase and moved with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what they were about to do. Daniel saw her first. His face went white. "Excuse me, who?" She stepped up to the microphone. Daniel tried to block her, but she simply moved around him with practiced efficiency. "Good evening," she said. Her voice carried across the suddenly silent ballroom. "I apologize for the interruption. My name is Dr. Patricia Chin. I'm a forensic accountant specializing in financial fraud investigation." 300 people froze. Glasses stopped mid-air. Conversations died instantly. "I'm here tonight on behalf of my client, Sarah Morrison, to present findings relevant to this celebration of financial success and strategic planning." She opened her briefcase and pulled out a bound document. Then she pressed a button and a screen descended behind her. A projector activated. The first slide appeared. Morrison Family Financial Analysis 8-Year Comprehensive Review prepared by Dr. Patricia Chin, CPCV. My mother stood up. "This is completely inappropriate." "Mrs. Morrison, you might want to hear this," Dr. Chin said calmly. "It concerns $623,000 that you've received over the past 8 years. Mom sat down heavily. Dr. Chin advanced to the next slide. It showed a timeline of wire transfers. Dates. Amounts. Account numbers with partial redaction. Over the past 8 years, Robert and Catherine Morrison have received consistent wire transfers totaling $623,000. These transfers were presented to them as returns on a $50,000 investment made in 2016 with Sterling Wealth Partners. He let that sink in. However, my investigation reveals that no such investment exists. There is no fund. There was no initial $50,000 investment. The money came from a different source entirely. Next slide. A corporate structure diagram showing my investment accounts, Sterling Wealth Partners, and the flow of funds. The money came from Sarah Morrison. Specifically, from her company Ecometrics Analytics and 3 associated investment vehicles. Ms. Morrison has $47 million invested with Sterling Wealth Partners, generating average annual returns of 28%. Portions of those returns were diverted by Daniel Morrison, senior portfolio manager at Sterling, and restructured as fictional investment income paid to his parents. The room erupted. Gasps. Whispers. Someone dropped a glass. Daniel was standing frozen at the front of the room. "That's not, I was just helping them." "You were committing fraud," Dr. Chin said without emotion. "You were taking your sister's investment returns and giving them to your parents while allowing them to believe they'd made a brilliant investment 8 years ago. Meanwhile, your sister's actual financial success remained hidden because you needed to maintain the fiction of your superior financial acumen." She advanced to the next slide. Credit card applications. My signature badly forged. Additionally, my investigation uncovered 4 credit card accounts opened in Sarah Morrison's name between 2018 and 2022. Total debt, $284,000. The applications contain forged signatures and required access to personal information that Daniel Morrison had through family connections. My father stood up. His face was gray. "Sarah, you can't possibly think. These cards were used to fund your home remodeling, your Hamptons vacation property down payment, and various luxury purchases," Dr. Chin continued relentlessly. "The minimum payments were made using the fraudulent investment returns, meaning Sarah Morrison was unknowingly funding the interest on debt created in her name." She clicked to the next slide. It showed the anniversary party invoice. $150,000. Paid by Sterling Wealth Partners from Daniel's performance bonus account. And finally, tonight's celebration. This $150,000 event was funded by a performance bonus Daniel Morrison received last quarter. That bonus was for managing high-value client portfolios. The largest portfolio he manages? Sarah Morrison's $47 million in assets. Dr. Chin turned to face the room directly. "Your hosts tonight spent $150,000 of their daughter's money to throw a party celebrating their financial success, while specifically uninviting that daughter because she didn't fit their sophisticated image. An image built entirely on her hidden wealth." The silence was absolute. Crushing. 300 people staring at my family with expressions ranging from shock to disgust to fascination. Dr. Chin pulled out one final document. I have filed formal reports with the FBI's Financial Crimes Division for wire fraud and identity theft. I have documentation of forged signatures, falsified investment records, and systematic financial exploitation. This case will be prosecuted. She closed her briefcase and looked at my parents. Congratulations on 40 years of marriage. I hope it was worth $623,000 of your daughter's money. Then she walked off the stage and came to stand beside me at the back of the ballroom. Every head turned. 300 pairs of eyes found me. Standing in my expensive dress, my real jewelry, my authentic self finally visible. "Hello everyone," I said. My voice was steady. "I'm Sarah Morrison, the daughter who still works at a nonprofit. The one who never understood success. The one who wasn't sophisticated enough for tonight." I walked forward slowly. The crowd parted like water. For 8 years I've listened to my family explain why I was disappointing. Why I wasn't as smart as Daniel. Why I didn't understand wealth or strategic planning. Why I was an embarrassment. I reached the front. Stood next to my brother who looked like he might vomit. What they didn't know is that I was building Ecometrics Analytics, a data analysis firm specializing in sustainable investment. I was managing portfolios worth millions. I was consulting for Fortune 500 companies and major hedge funds. I was making more money at 25 than Daniel makes now at 32. Daniel opened his mouth. Nothing came out. But I stayed quiet. Because I wanted to build something that mattered, not something that impressed people at parties. And because I knew that once you saw the money, that's all you'd see. I turned to my parents. I was right. The moment Daniel found out about my wealth, he didn't celebrate with me. He didn't acknowledge my success. He found a way to steal it and give it to you while maintaining the fiction that he was the financial genius in the family. Mom was crying. Real tears this time. Not happy ones. "I would have helped you," I said quietly. "If you'd asked. If you'd treated me like family instead of a disappointment. But you didn't. You mocked me. You excluded me. Used me. And Daniel committed federal crimes to keep me invisible while taking credit for my success." I pulled out my phone. Opened my email. Found the message from my attorney and read it aloud. "Effective immediately, all assets managed by Sterling Wealth Partners are being transferred to alternative management. Total value, $47 million. Additionally, all civil and criminal proceedings will move forward as planned. Expected charges: wire fraud, identity theft, forgery, financial exploitation." I looked at Daniel. "You going to prison?" "Not maybe. Not probably. You are going to federal prison." He collapsed into a chair. Amanda was backing away from him like he was radioactive. I looked at my parents. "And you're going to lose everything. The house will go into foreclosure when you can't make payments without my investment returns. The vacation home will be sold to pay legal fees. The country clubs will terminate your memberships. Your sophisticated life will disappear because it was never real in the first place." Dad's voice was barely a whisper. "Sarah, we didn't know." "You didn't ask," I corrected. "You didn't ask where the money was coming from. You didn't ask if the returns were real. You didn't ask because you wanted to believe Daniel was brilliant and I was disappointing. It fit your narrative better." I turned to address the entire ballroom. "I hope you all enjoyed the party. I hope the champagne was worth $150,000 of my money. I hope celebrating my parents' financial success was meaningful, even though that success was stolen from me." The room was dead silent. "Oh, and one more thing," I added. "To everyone who works in finance here who might be considering working with Daniel Morrison or Sterling Wealth Partners in the future. You should know that Daniel's largest client just pulled $47 million in assets due to fraud. His performance record? Built on managing my portfolio. His bonuses? Derived from my returns. His professional reputation? About to be destroyed by federal charges." I smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "Good luck with that VP position, Daniel. Federal prison doesn't usually look great on a resume." I walked out of the ballroom with Dr. Chen beside me. Behind us, the party dissolved into chaos. Shouting. Crying. 300 guests scrambling to distance themselves from the Morrison family disaster. We got in a taxi. Dr. Chen looked at me carefully. "How do you feel?" "Empty," I said honestly. "Not satisfied. Not vindicated. Just empty. That's normal. You just detonated your family. They detonated themselves, I corrected. I just made sure everyone could see the explosion. I flew back to Seattle the next morning. Back to my modest apartment, my old Subaru, my nonprofit work. Back to the life that was actually mine, built on actual achievements, funded by actual work. The media picked up the story within 48 hours. Tech executive exposes family fraud at anniversary party. The video, someone had filmed Dr. Chen's presentation, went viral. 15 million views in a week. The comments were overwhelming. This is the most satisfying thing I've ever watched. The silence when she revealed everything, loudly crying face. Imagine stealing $600,000 from your sister and then uninviting her to the party you bought with her money. That forensic accountant is a legend. Daniel was arrested 6 days later. Federal charges: wire fraud, identity theft, forgery, and financial exploitation. His attorney tried to negotiate. The FBI wasn't interested. The evidence was too clear. The documentation was too thorough. He was looking at 5 to 7 years in federal prison. Sterling Wealth Partners terminated his employment immediately. Several of his other clients pulled their assets. The firm was facing regulatory investigation for compliance failures that allowed the fraud to occur. Amanda filed for divorce within 2 weeks. She gave an interview to Business Insider claiming she had no knowledge of Daniel's crimes. "I thought I was marrying a financial genius," she said. "Turns out I married a thief who stole from his sister. My parents' house went into foreclosure. The vacation home was sold at a loss. The country club memberships were terminated. Dad's professional reputation was destroyed. His colleagues couldn't stop talking about how his financial success had been built on stolen money from the daughter he'd dismissed as a failure. Mom called me 38 times in the first month. I didn't answer. Finally, she showed up at my apartment in Seattle. I don't know how she got my address. Probably from old family records." She looked diminished. Older. The expensive clothes looked wrong on her now, like costumes she couldn't afford to maintain. "Can we talk?" she asked. I almost said no. But something in me, some small remaining fragment of the daughter I used to be, opened the door. We sat in my living room. She looked around at my modest furniture, my simple life. "I never understood why you lived like this," she said quietly. "When you had so much." "Because the money was never the point," I said. "Building something that mattered was the point." He started crying. "We lost everything. The house, our savings, our friends. People won't return our calls. Your father might lose his consulting contracts. We're moving into a small apartment in Queens. That's not my fault." "I know." She twisted her hands together. "I know. But Sarah, we're your parents. We made mistakes, but doesn't that count for something?" "You didn't make mistakes," I said. "You made choices. You chose to believe I was a failure. You chose to take money without asking where it came from. You chose to exclude me from your celebration while spending my money. Those weren't accidents. Those were decisions. We didn't know it was your money. You didn't care where it came from," I corrected. "As long as it maintained your lifestyle and supported your belief that Daniel was the successful one." She was quiet for a long time. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing," I said honestly. "I don't want your apology or your explanation or your justification. I wanted you to see me. Actually see me. Not your disappointment. Not your comparison point to Daniel. Just me. But you never did. And now it's too late." "It can't be too late," she whispered. "You're our daughter." "I was your aim," I said. "There's a difference." She left 20 minutes later. I closed the door and felt nothing. Not relief. Not satisfaction. Just the quiet certainty that some relationships, once broken this completely, can't be fixed. 6 months after the anniversary party, I sat in a coffee shop in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood. Across from me sat my father. He'd called 2 weeks earlier. Not to ask for money. Not to beg for help with legal fees or housing or any of the financial disasters consuming their lives. Just to ask if I'd meet him for coffee. I almost said no. But curiosity won. He looked older. Much older. The stress had carved deep lines in his face. He was wearing a regular button-down shirt instead of the expensive dress shirts I remembered. He looked like a normal person. Not a successful executive. Just a man who'd lost everything. "Thank you for meeting me," he said quietly. I nodded. I don't have excuses, he continued. I don't have explanations that make any of this okay. I just wanted to tell you that I finally read about your company. About ecometrics. About your work. And it's extraordinary. What you've built. The impact you're having on sustainable investment. The way you've combined environmental science with financial analysis. It's brilliant, Sarah. It's the kind of work that actually matters. I waited. I spent years telling you that you didn't understand success, he said. That you were wasting your potential on feel-good projects. But you were building something more valuable than anything Daniel or I ever created. And I was too blind to see it. Yes, I agreed. You were. Can I ask why you hid it? I thought about that. Because I knew that once you saw the money you'd only see the money. Not the work. Not the mission. Not the actual impact. Just the dollar signs. And I wanted to build something that mattered for reasons beyond impressing you. He nodded slowly. You were right. The moment Daniel found out about your wealth, he found a way to steal it. He didn't celebrate with you. He didn't acknowledge your success. He exploited it. While you praised him as a financial genius. While we praised him as a financial genius, he corrected. Your mother and I. We built our pride on lies and dismissed the truth standing right in front of us. We sat in silence for a moment. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he said finally. I don't deserve it. I'm not asking for a relationship. I don't expect it. I just wanted you to know that I finally see what you built. And it's more impressive than anything I ever imagined. Hey, I said. Okay, I heard you. I acknowledge that you finally understand what I've been doing. But Dad, you didn't come to this realization on your own. You came to it because you lost everything and were forced to see the truth. That's not growth. That's consequence. His face crumpled slightly. You're right. If Daniel hadn't committed fraud. If Dr. Chin hadn't presented publicly. If you still had your house and your country clubs and your sophisticated lifestyle, would you have ever bothered to actually look at my work? He opened his mouth. Closed it. I don't know. That's honest at least. We finished our coffee in silence. As we left he paused. For what it's worth, I am proud of you. Actually proud. Not because of the money. Because you built something that creates real value in the world. Because you had integrity when we had none. Because you're a better person than we deserved. Thank you, I said. And meant it. Not because it fixed anything. But because it was true. A year after the anniversary party I was worth $52 million. Ecometrics Analytics had expanded to 32 employees. We'd signed contracts with 7 new Fortune 500 companies. I'd been featured in Forbes, Bloomberg and Environmental Finance magazine. But the achievement I was proudest of had nothing to do with money. The environmental nonprofit where I still worked part-time launched a new program, fully funded by my foundation, that brought data analytics training to environmental science students. We were teaching the next generation how to combine sustainability with financial literacy. How to build careers that created both impact and income. We reached 800 students in the first year. We'd employed 12 full-time instructors. We were changing the way people thought about environmental careers. My relationship with my parents remained complicated. We had coffee every few months. Surface-level conversations. Careful topics. They'd moved into a small apartment in Queens. Dad did consulting work. Mom worked part-time at a bookstore. They'd built a life that was modest, honest and small. Daniel was serving a 6-year sentence in federal prison. I'd received 3 letters from him. I'd read them but hadn't responded. Some breaches of trust can't be fixed with words. The viral video still circulated occasionally. New platforms. New audiences. People who saw their own family dynamics reflected in my story. I'd stopped reading the comments. It wasn't about the validation anymore. I still drove my Subaru. Still lived in a modest apartment, though I'd upgraded to one with better natural light and a small office. Still wore practical clothes. Still worked at the nonprofit because the mission mattered. But I'd stopped hiding. I'd put my name on my company. I'd own my success publicly. Not to impress anyone. But because I'd learned that hiding truth to avoid judgment was its own kind of prison. On the anniversary of the gala, I had dinner with Dr. Chin. She'd become a friend. The kind of friend who understood complicated family dynamics and didn't judge. Do you regret it? She asked. The public confrontation? I thought about it carefully. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that they pushed things so far that public exposure became the only option. But the truth itself? Oh, I don't regret truth. Even though it destroyed your family? It destroyed the lies, I corrected. My family was already destroyed. It was just built on fraud instead of honesty. All I did was make the destruction visible. She raised her glass. To visible truth. To visible truth, I echoed. We drank to that. To building things that mattered. To refusing to hide. To letting success speak in its own language. I went home that night to my modest apartment and pulled up my portfolio. Not to obsess over returns, but to review the sustainable tech startups I'd invested in. Solar companies reaching underserved communities. Carbon capture technology. Ocean cleanup initiatives. Educational programs. My wealth was a tool. My success was leverage. And I was using both to build something that would outlast any anniversary party. The golden child had fallen. The disappointment had risen. But the real reversal wasn't about family hierarchy. It was about understanding that true success isn't measured by what people think of you at cocktail parties. It's measured by the impact you create when no one's watching. By the work you build when everyone dismisses you. By the integrity you maintain when stealing would be easier. Daniel had thrown a $150,000 party to celebrate a lie. I had built a $52 million company to create actual value. The difference wasn't just the money. It was the meaning. And in the end, that was the only reversal that mattered.